Hey everyone, welcome to another Manufacturing Live. Today we're going to talk about 3D Experience World, and with me I have a colleague, a good friend, and a super smart, connected guy. Buddy, welcome to the show. Tell us who you are and what you do, because I can't do justice to the magic that you bring to ERP and MES.
Hi, Mike. It's good to be here. My name is Buddy Bump, and I am a product manager for DELMIAWorks. Primarily, what I do is bring together what we like to call real-time process monitoring data. So data from the shop floor, bring it into an ERP context. But we've got a new project that we've been working on for the small skies manufacturing folks and that work in the fast-paced engineer-to-order world.
Okay, so you connect people and you connect their business, right?
Precisely,
Okay.
yeah.
So we're going to get into this. Nobody leave. Make sure that you ask questions. This is a live session. You want to know all the three-letter words, OPC, all of those things and what they mean. And, how do I do my bits and bytes and connect it? Am I making money? Am I not? We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But we're 33 days away from 3D Experience World. If you haven't registered yet, you probably should, because in the shop floor, we're going to be doing a lot of the connected components, machining, cobots, robots. We're going to have some visual inspection stuff from Diota. We're even going to have Dr. Presso. And if you don't know what Dr. Presso is, you need to go check it out on YouTube, because we're going to be making lattes and coffees and all kinds of caffeinated drinks with Doosan, PLCs, and robotics, fully automated. So, buddy, when we talk about what you've been working on, we showed a little bit of it last year at 3D Experience World, right? Talk about what we've done in the last year.
Yeah, so what we've done in the last year is really start to explore the possibilities of connecting with the rest of the brand, the rest of the brands in the Dassault Systems family. But the big thing that we're going to be showing off is actually to get it in your hands on a what you might experience in your own shop. So put it on an iPad, lets you click through some things, check out your metrics on how your business is performing. So what is my dollars per hour average? How quickly am I turning around quotes? And what is my win percentage on those quotes? So we'll show you that data in a new and interesting way. Hopefully is very helpful to look back into the past, see how you're trending. And beyond that, like I said, we're going to give it to you hands-on so you can go through the process of quoting using this tool to show you, give you the feel for just how flexible and easy to use this tool really is.
Okay. Now, there's a lot of people, you and I talk about this quite a bit. We were talking about it before we came on this morning. There's a large number of our customers out there in the mainstream that use SolidWorks. They use a lot of our mainstream tools in engineering. But when it gets to, like what you and I are responsible for, factory flow, robotics, CAM, collaboration in the shop, ERP, MES, a lot of people are assuming that these technologies are brand new and like we're just making them up in a van out back and then shipping them out. But you're part of a group that has been around for a very long time, came part of the DS family about 4+ years ago. Can you talk a little bit about where the expertise came from? What's the history of ERP and MES, and what we're actually doing with this? It's not some dude Bob in the van out back just writing code. So can you give a little foundation of what it is, who it is you work with, and what we do?
Sure. So today, the DELMIAWorks product services small to medium-sized manufacturing, getting into even some of the larger scale manufacturing operations. We've done very well inside of plastic injection molding, but anywhere that you need tracking, where you need throughput and visibility, that's where we serve. So manufacturing and the ERP space, where those two things join. We started about 30 years ago with the founder, Randy Flam. So Randy was a scheduler and decided that he needed a scheduling system. And well, he built one. Turns out he was definitely good at scheduling and programming. And the company really took off from there. So we brought that manufacturing expertise. We started in the manufacturing expertise and then moved to the ERP space. So over the years, probably about 5 or 6 years, that program grew. Then it moved from the moved platforms. So it started off as a DOS program. So moved platforms into Windows. By then, we were a full-fledged ERP. But like I said, with that manufacturing in our blood. So the next generation or the next big step for us was bringing in the actual automation expertise. So our real-time production monitoring products, the MIUs connected to machines, gathered cycle data. We turned that cycle data through the information that's in the system. We turn that cycle data into OEE metrics, so operational efficiency metrics. We turn it into unscheduled downtime, so capturing the unscheduled downtime that happened on people's shops, super accurate inventory counts, and ultra quick production reporting. So that was where we were probably 10, 15 years ago. Then from there, we saw that the capabilities of the average machine were growing. So you mentioned OPC UA. Our product real-time process monitoring was the next step for us. So we brought in more connectivity to the shop floor, built on the success of that our customers were seeing with production monitoring, to connect with not just our own hardware, but the hardware that exists on the shop floor of our customers. So lots of protocols, OPC DA, OPC UA, Modbus, the Euromaps, those all come to mind. So that's where we kind of got to. And so now we're bringing that expertise onto the 3DEXPERIENCE platform with our connected buy solution. And so that is going to be taking bill of manufacture data and connecting it between the other brands, so Solidworks and specifically. So that's about where we are.
Okay. I'm a Civil Nebraska farm boy, so I'm going to put it in layman's terms for me. But before I do that, make sure that you hit like and subscribe. I got to pay the bills around here, or they'll shut us off mid-presentation today. So get that out of the way, like and subscribe. Also, ask questions. He threw out a whole bunch of acronyms there and shortcuts. Honestly, I just read the labels, and I picked up OPC UA from the labels. If you have questions about that, definitely ask. Buddy is the guy. He handles real-time process monitoring, which has always intrigued me. But the story you just told, being around the SolidWorks ecosystem for 23 years now, the story you told there where you had a need, you started with scheduling, you figured that out, started in this manufacturing realm because there was a gap there. It started honestly about the same time as SolidWorks did, right? Need a better CAD package, started in Windows, found a niche, and today SolidWorks has 20 some products, 300 add-ins. We've added the platform on top of that. It's now what started as a simple CAD tool. You can do simulation, validation, injection molding, simulation, CAM. All of those things grew from this one CAD need in the 90s. It sounds like what you did as a company with DELMIAWorks is very similar. There was a need for scheduling, and then it grew into, scheduling, manufacturing, all that stuff is awesome and amazing and very needed, but we have to connect to the business side of things, because it's one thing to place an order. It's another thing to place an order and know that we're shipping on time, that the materials are there. Are we actually making money as the project goes through? The worst thing that all happens, I think, even in engineering, is We design the next best widget, it goes out in manufacturing, and then all of a sudden we're losing $100 a part, and everyone's like, didn't expect that. By the time you figure out you're losing $100 a part, oftentimes it's too late because you're not getting the data that you need. The other thing that you mentioned there that I sort of want to break apart, because this has always been one of my gripes, if you will, is EBOM, MBOM. So Solidworks CAD people, right, that create parametric models, they create an engineering bill of materials. These are the components that I need to make product X. Explain what a bill of manufacture does.
Gladly. So a bill of manufacture is specifically the MBOM, so the manufacturing bill of manufacture, that, or bill of materials, it is really an instruction for how am I going to make this in the real world. So, you know, as you mentioned, we start out in the SolidWorks realm. So in EBOM, somebody has an idea, somebody's job is to figure out how to put that idea together, to how is it plausible for this thing to be made. There's a whole translation that has to happen between somebody who is focused on pulling something out of the ethereal and into, you know, a model. You have to translate that to somebody who's trying to say, okay, I've got this model, but now how am I going to actually make this out of real material in the real world on this big machine that I've got? Okay. So there's lots of different kinds of questions that people have to ask. There's lots of manufacturability concerns that need to be addressed that might not and probably shouldn't come up during the previous iterations of that product's thought.
Okay.
So and in our system, the BOM, it actually combines also with the routing. So the how is this product and all of the pieces, the component pieces of that product, going to be routed through your manufacturing floor? So how am I delivering material to where it needs to be? How am I then taking that material and packaging it, or the finished part and packaging it, and then storing that? That's all included in the way that we route things. But yeah, EBOM, it's a nice topic, big topic, meaty one.
So we're going to get into shop floor topics here in a little bit. I'm actually setting up some of our discussion, so bear with me for a second. So if I'm thinking about layman's term, let's say I want to bake a cake, right? I know I need to have mix, I know I need to have eggs, I know I have water, but the manufacturing process of making a cake is I have to have pans and spoons and measuring cups and the oven and all the things to produce. All of those go along with the materials needed to actually bake the cake. And MBOM is the capturing of the oven, the utensils, all of the steps in that process of, well, I got to put the egg somewhere, right? That's really what an MBOM is. So as we fast forward to 3D experience world, and we talk about the new product that you have, and we talk about how we're going to tie all this together, what we're really talking about is you have CAD data. It has to get stored somewhere, so that way you can pick it up in a solution to be able to make that recipe of baking a cake, right? You got to make sure you have all the utensils. So traditionally in the shop floor, the last, gosh, five years now, even when it's been remote, we've sort of showcased all of the recipe to build it, right? So what we're going to have this year, and we'll come back to how your solution is going to fit into this. We have a DN Solutions, formerly Doosan. They're now DN. DN 5-axis mill, a DN mill turn lathe, right? We're going to be making some cool things on the mill. We're going to be doing a belt buckle because we're in Nashville. We got to do something country and Western, right? Then we're on the mill turn. We're going to be doing a beverage of choice in a stainless steel cup. They're going to be custom engraved. We're doing them on mill turn with live axis tooling. Then we move down to our good friends at Tormach. They're going to be machining a cowboy boot on their mill, which I cannot wait to see. It's going to be awesome. Full billet cowboy boot. And then they're actually bringing one of their new machines, a plasma. So you have to come by and see the plasma for two reasons. They're going to be making a stand that will hold a cell phone or the belt buckle. So if you're lucky enough and we have some leftovers for a belt buckle, you may be able to sneak one from us. But the music note holders can sit on your desk. You can store and sort anything. But there's some cool things that we'll talk about, because over the weekend of 3D Experience World is one of our new updates. Did you know that, buddy?
I did not.
Yeah, so with the platform, we do lots of continuous updates, right? It's think of it, if you're thinking old school SolidWorks, like a service pack, but there's an FD that actually comes out over 3D Experience World. And one of the new cool things that's coming in all of our CAM solutions is the ability to do 2D nesting. So whatever CAD solution you have, if your data resides in the platform, I can go select a project or a part or a component, and I can automatically nest all that stuff out, which comes back to your side of the fence that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But I can nest all that stuff out. I can export if I want to export, or I can machine it right there in the environment. So part of the Tormach Plasma, we're going to be showing off some of our new nesting capability. It's pretty awesome. One of the things I like about it is it can take any CAD data that's in the platform. So if you're an environment that's using mixed CAD solutions, you can now nest with one solution, keep track of it all, revision control it, create that bill of manufacturing thing that you were just talking about. All that stuff is part of it. So that's our back row, right? And I think Ian's throwing up some images or some links along the way. Hopefully you're excited. You should come and register, because we're trying to make this year bigger and better than in previous years. Our space is 70 by 110, buddy. So I hope you bring your walking shoes, because we're going to be doing lots of walking with customers this year. Outside of the back row, we then have the middle area. And this is where Buddy's stuff is going to come in. And I'll bring it to you and back to you in just a second with the iPad stuff. We're going to have a Cobot 101 area. Let's say you're thinking about a cobot. Let's say you like cobots. These are the ones that are friendly, not the ones that kill you. Think Wall-E versus Terminator, right? The cobots are friendly. We're actually going to be doing some Cobot 101 sessions. So we'll have a sign-up sheet. You can come over, work with the folks from Doosan, and actually learn how to program cobots. That's pretty cool. Don't you think, buddy?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think I'm going to sign up myself.
You get to fly in early, so you get to help set them up and play with them ahead of time, because this is just for customers. You don't get to sneak a spot, because we only have 4 of them to do training with. But we're going to do some cool things with that, get everyone used to how cobots work, moving, manipulating, all that good stuff. But we also have a Casal robot, or Casal cobot, and that one is going to be hooked into our Delmia solution. And from what the team tells me right now is we're going to be doing some assembly stuff, some stacking, sorting, things of that nature. It'll be plugged into 3D Experience platform with our Delmia robotics. So you'll be able to see virtual and real working together back and forth through a translation. Remember those cups I mentioned? They're going to be doing something cool with those cups out on the showcase with the Casal cobot. Then let's say you're a CNC guy. Or a CNC person, not a guy. I'm from the Midwest. I apologize. A CNC person. We're also going to be doing some CNC 101 with the Tormach team. So we're going to have some tables set up. Let's say you want to get into what does it take to machine a part. We'll have some XS Tech routers over there. You can sign up just like the cobots. Come over, go through a class, get used to the idea of machining. So let's say you're an engineer. You get tired of the manufacturing guys telling you don't know what you don't know. You want to see what this machining thing is all about, you can come over, go through some classes, ask some questions, get started in that. Now, while all of this stuff is going on, and I got a few more surprises yet, but while this is going on, this is where you're going to interact, buddy, right? In this area with the iPad and everything. So talk a little bit about the opportunity that people will have to see how what you were talking about, ERP and some of those components actually connect together. What is it that you're going to provide, connecting to machines, how the iPad's going to work? Talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So we're going to have a couple of different things to do. Now, I want to start with the kind of the new thing, design to build. So design to build is really as honed of a tool as we could make And the idea is to take back all of the configuration, take back all of the setup that you might need to do for an ERP solution, which is generally quite a lot because they're meant to run organizations. But in a smaller setting, you might not necessarily need all of that. But what you do need is a tool to quickly help you think through, okay, how am I going to make this? I have some engineering data from my customer. I can throw together some numbers of, I think it's going to take maybe an hour here, 30 minutes setup there, maybe, whatever level of detail you need in order to feel comfortable with your quote, turn that into a quote very quickly. And then use all of that information that our system will take all that information that you used to kind of think through a quote and get something that's compelling to your customer base, and turn that into your process traveler, just automatically for you. With that process traveler and all of that work that you did in the quoting, you also have all of your events that need to be scheduled. So we'll show you a quick and easy way to schedule and orchestrate your shop, the movements that happen on your shop floor. And that obviously will also then show you the completion there, all the way to billing. Like the name implies, from design to billing, that's where we cover. We're also going to be showing you kind of where you can go later on, because one of the things that doesn't get mentioned quite enough, in my opinion, is that we are part of a broader family here at Dassault Systems. So we're not just making this small, simplistic, or I guess honed tool in a vacuum. We're making it with the goal to grow with you as a business. So if you are, maybe you win that golden contract, you get a supplier that's regularly ordering from you, say, hey, I can retool part of my shop and do some repetitive manufacturing. Then that's where you're going to be seeing, I guess, some of the other value with the EIQ. We mentioned real-time process monitoring. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be connecting to the work centers on the shop floor at 3DEXPERIENCE World, at the playground, and pulling live data from those machines, live production data from those machines, and pulling it into our system. So you'll see that on our product called Real-Time Charts. But we're also going to be showing, like I said, the connected by solution. And that shows, I really, we're going to have to save some
of the... Hey, don't give it all away. People have to come see what's going on here. So before... well, I know it is very exciting, but before we get too far, Ian has started a poll. And so we want to know of who's watching, who's going to attend 3DEXPERIENCE World, who's going to come by and see Buddy and talk about all the gadgets and gadgets and bits and bytes. So go ahead and do an answer in there, and then Ian will tell me how 95% of you are all going to World, and see some of this stuff and chat with us. So one of the things that you sort of mentioned there is, we're trying to address a couple different areas, right? Let's say you're like my facility here. I make prototypes for people. Sometimes I test our software. Someone comes in and they're like, hey, what's it going to cost for material and how soon can I get it? Mm-hmm. For someone like myself, that's not my full-time business. My primary goal is to test our software and ensure that it works and make sure that, customers get what they need. But if someone has that, I shouldn't have to go through a whole bunch of different steps and different systems to try to figure out what does it cost, when can they get it, and how do I send them an invoice? That's sort of what you just summed up that you're talking about with like a new edition of our user interface.
Yeah, well
the second area you're talking about is, let's say someone comes to me and they're like, hey, I would really like you to do this, but I want you to do 100,000 of them. Well, at that point, I got a bigger problem, right? So when you're talking about that, then all of a sudden I have to be concerned with, What is my machine uptime? What's my downtime? When do I schedule maintenance? When do my tools wear out? How do I make sure that I have enough tools on inventory? What, can I actually house the material needed to do 100,000 parts? And that's the other part you were talking about. So it sounds like in the shop floor, we're going to be showing two different variations. The first one is me as a prototyper. The second one is me as Elon Musk, the Tesla guy that's disrupting the world with weird tweets. We cover both bases in that scenario, but the new component we're talking about is taking 30 years of expertise and knowledge, retooling it into a UI that doesn't inhibit my ability to be successful.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, let's be real. Everybody that starts a business has big aspirations of becoming, a Tesla or a SpaceX or someone in that realm. The part that becomes scary is how many iterations of technology I would have to adopt to get there, right?
Yep.
And so what I'm hearing is part of our vision is if you were to work with a solution like ours, what we're going to show 3D Experience World when you're small, you could actually grow through that entire system and not have to leave it.
Yeah.
Is that sort of the vision?
Yeah, that's the vision. But there's also an important factor. We wanted to craft the prototyper style solution. We wanted to craft that in such a way that it doesn't threaten your ability to get up off the ground, because it's pretty hard to pick up a new software and integrate it into your business model while still trying to run your business and trying to make the best parts possible and get them to your customers on time. Those are all very, very difficult questions to answer. And what we're hoping to do, what I think we've done, is we've taken those questions and we've peeled them back, and so that you as a manufacturer can focus on making good parts, getting them to your customers on time, and driving that customer relationship, and so that you can grow your business and, like we said, stay within the same ecosystem, easily grow between solutions.
Yeah, and I think that Ian responded to me that 100% of the people that answered are going to World. So please stop by, because there's two things that we want to accomplish in the shop floor. First, everything about the shop floor has always been about education. We want to educate people and answer questions on what they have. The second component that we always focus on in the shop floor is we're going to be showcasing some new technology. We want you to stop by and provide us feedback, give us some insight, tell us, hey, this will help us do our business better. This over here, if we made a few adjustments, we could make that work a little bit better. The perspective of the shop floor has always been from an R&D understanding of we're showcasing how things fit together, answering questions, helping educate people on how a manufacturing process works. But more importantly is getting feedback from you, the customer, to help us ensure that what we're investing our time and effort in is something that provides value add to your business. And I know there's a lot of engineering people on here that don't deal with the business day to day, but my response to you is, how many non-value add design things do you do in a day? How many times are you exporting bombs? Are you converting to STEP? Are you converting to IGES? Are you looking up parts in a ERP system to see if we've had it before? All of those things help the business, and the more you can consolidate that data to save you time, the more you get to do what you were actually paid to do, which is design better products or test better products, or whatever division of engineering you're in. I'm a manufacturing engineer, so I've always been on the making it happen portion, But the key here is by connecting the information, we're trying to remove some of the non-value add things. And that's really what Buddy's been talking about here is, I have a laptop. I don't have a server. I don't have a big farm. I mean, well, I have a farm, but not a big server farm. Case in point. But like right now, I'm streaming from my house in the country through Starlink for this presentation. I don't have access to big throughput gigabytes of data. I would be like a typical person that you're talking about what this new solution should be. I need to be able to set it up. I need to be able to access it quickly. And I should be able to manage my data without a lot of hassle. And that sounds like what you're talking about, right, buddy?
Exactly.
Okay, so we're gonna have iPads. You're gonna have a touch screen there too, right? So if people want to navigate around and see how it feels and flows, that'll be one of the areas that you're gonna have as well, right?
Yep. Yeah. So the hopefully what we'll be able to give you is a sense of, what are the possibilities? How could this tool look and feel inside of your shop? So the touch screen, the big display screen, that might we might show, okay, what does it look like when I'm sitting at my desktop and I'm trying to work through a quote. The iPads, we might show you, what does it look like? What does the process traveler look like, at the machine? If I was going to take, just a simple VESA mount or something and mount a inexpensive touchscreen tablet next to the big expensive CNC machine, what does that dedicated display look like? How does it gather information from the shop? What kind of baseline of information can we expect? Because one of the things that we do, I think is pretty slick, is we surface a little timer, and so that you can just click a button if you're not connected to the machine directly, just click a button and collect how long did it actually take you to do that setup, or how long did the machine actually take to run through the program.
Well, and what a lot of people didn't see last year, I don't think, is with this technology and the way it's set up, we actually put that into the controller. So from the touch screen on the FANUC controller, you could actually go to that and start the timer and stop the timer while you're doing setup. So you mentioned the tablet next to it, and I'm sure a lot of people freaked out because it's a tablet, it costs money, people walk off with them, but you can actually, through some of the UI components and FANUC and some of the other brands these days for controllers, you can actually remote into those and be able to do the same thing. So I don't want to skip that piece. I know that last year when we pushed that test, it worked out really well, but there was a little bit of gray hairs in figuring out, but it does work. So the other area we have is we actually have a theater for ERP and MES. So there'll be a couple monitors up, a place to sit, rest the dogs, if you will. We'll have some tables there also for people to connect, sit and chat, maybe have a beverage of choice on one of the evenings when it's going on there. But there's a couple other things that we have going on. So let's say you want to do the manufacturing collaboration communication. We're going to have another touchscreen set up that's going to allow you to do lean Kaizen events, just communicate. Let's skip the CAD and the CAM and the robots and all that stuff, but let's just figure out how to communicate better. As humans, we're not the best at communicating. I don't know if anyone's figured that out in the last couple of years of all working remote, but being able to actually communicate is a big problem that we have today in companies. So we'll have a couple areas there. You can go play with that. But then one of the cool last areas of the shop floor before we move on to the manufacturing general session is Dr. Presso. So we always have, the food and the drink and all that good stuff. And then when it comes time to make coffee and things like that, everybody sort of splits out. Well, part of the automation and part of the future of manufacturing is also how do we have that human interaction component? And we're lucky enough to be able to have Doosan help us and bring Dr. Presso over to the US and have it at the shop floor. So stop by and you'll get to see a Doosan cobot with a PLC actually being able to make your drinks right there in the shop floor. So as you're doing all this talking and learning and Cobot 101, CNC 101, testing with Buddy, you get a little thirsty. It's not late in the evening for the extra beverages. Grab a coffee from Dr. Presso. It'll all be right there. I did forget one thing though, Buddy, and it's something we haven't talked about, and it's important to MES. So I cannot believe you didn't mention inspection and QA. How could you forget that? Your teammates are going to be very upset with you for not mentioning inspection, because a part is only as good as the quality reporting it gets.
Yeah. So we're going to have our inspection, quick inspection product. So you'll be able to take inspection data directly from, how you might input it in as a person. But also, we can automate that collection of data with real-time process monitoring too. Just wanted to throw that little extra in there. But actually, I don't really want to take Chris's thunder for the ShopWorks product. I think I let her go over that, and have you'll just have to see it at the shop floor.
Well, and along with Chris's, I don't know, I haven't talked to Chris yet. Well, we added one other component too that is very worth seeing that ties this whole thing together. Many of you may not know, but in the last 8 months, my brain's I've been so busy, timing is a little off on me. But in the last 8 months or so, we've added a new family member to the group, Diota, DIOTA, and it is a AR, VR type inspection process. So imagine, if you will, you want to have someone inspect a steel beam in the shop with a bunch of tabs welded on it, right? I'm going to use this one example. There's way cooler ones, but if we're talking industrial equipment, what most manufacturers have, you have this big weldment on the shop floor, right? And there's always tabs and all these things that have to get welded on it, but it's a challenge to inspect, right? Sometimes based on size, sometimes based on the number of components that get added to a weldment. With Diota, you can actually go through, hold up a tablet, and it will overlay the CAD geometry on the model and highlight where things don't match to the finished inspected product. So let's say you weld a tab on the wrong way. You'll be able to see that. Let's say you're missing a tab. You'll be able to see that. One's moved a 1/4 inch or 25 millimeters the wrong way. You'll be able to see that just from a tablet, from an overlay. So that's going to be in the shop floor as well. There's a couple other cool presentations they do, but not only for wiring, electrical, piping, plumbing, those types of things, and a base function. If I have big scale things to inspect, I can very quickly and easily see it. And more importantly, I reduce the language barrier. I no longer have to write out technical documents in every language to be able to support my process. I can now use a piece of technology to visually see it. And in case you haven't learned, it's a TikTok and a YouTube world, right? We talk about this all the time, buddy. Everybody wants to learn visually these days.
Yeah.
So we won't steal Chris's thunder because I don't want her to come after me for stealing that. We will leave that, but you need to come by and see what Chris is showing too. And she has a bunch of stuff that she wants to show. Just like Buddy, there's lots of feedback, lots of things that we want to gain. So if you have ideas, thoughts, concerns, how you want to make the product better, please come by. If you want to learn about cobots, you want to learn about CNC, you want to see some cool beverage cups, maybe grab one, maybe a buckle if we have enough, please come by the shop floor. But we're not done, buddy. We have manufacturing general session. So you have any ideas what we're going to do this year?
Manufacturing general sessions. Well, I mean, I've got a couple, those are breakout sessions.
I'm talking the general session Tuesday afternoon.
Oh, the general session Tuesday afternoon. I didn't go over that.
Oh, well, I'm going to put you in it because I'm excited about this one. So traditionally, we read feedback. We understand there's a lot of discussions that happen about the content that we show, right? So this year for the manufacturing general session, it's Tuesday afternoon. Can't remember the exact timing right now, but check it out. Log in, you'll be able to see it. But we're going to do 3 sections in that session, and we're really focusing on thought leadership and discussions about challenges we actually have. So we're really lucky in 3DEXPERIENCE Works because we get a chance to gain insight not only from our customers, but from industry leaders. So we're going to start off that session with a manufacturing diversity panel talking about some of the challenges we have with the workforce. And so we have some really cool people. We have Megan Zimba from Maven's Manufacturing. We have Andrew Crow, which is doing amazing things in education to be able to get the next generation of people interested in manufacturing. Then we have Ashley Harms from MetalQuest. You know, their company is almost 30% women today. So she's going to talk about how they're approaching that and challenging, you know, the status quo, if you will, as like what I like to call crusty white dudes like myself, to try to get more people into manufacturing. We have a couple other people we're going to have in there as well. Those three I can mention right now because they're confirmed and they're going to join us. But we're going to have a real good discussion, panel discussion on what we can do to make manufacturing better across the board, because we are all struggling with getting enough people to build enough products to serve tomorrow, right? So that's the first part. The second part is we have Todd White. We met him at IQMS, him and his daughter. I believe his daughter is 8 years old. And he's going to talk about his story and transition of getting into manufacturing, going from, you know, working with a startup, losing everything, being homeless, to getting into manufacturing and running his own shop, to the point that his two young daughters, and I believe the one is 8, actually can run some of the machines and do setups now, and absolutely loves it. So he's going to talk about that story and what manufacturing means to him and his family. And then we're going to cap it off with a customer discussion from Balin Manufacturing, a 60-plus-year-old company here in Nebraska, 20-plus-year SolidWorks user that is revamping their entire process with Industry 4.0 and smart manufacturing, and recently worked with us for factory flow simulation. We scanned 850,000 square feet of their facility, put it into our plant layout and factory flow, and then are going through and changing how they do business for the next 60 years. It's going to be pretty cool, and it's going to be very different than what you've seen in the past. We will have some discussion on product, but it's from the mouth of our customer and what they're doing and what their vision is in alignment with Industry 4.0 and Lean. But the first two areas are more in addressing a process and journey that everyone is going through these days, coming out of, you know, the last couple of years that we won't talk about. So that's really what our focus is. So what do you think of that, buddy? This is your first time hearing it.
Oh, I think it's great. The hearing of that, we're bringing in more perspectives. It's only going to do great things for the entire industry, to have more people bringing more good ideas, and those ideas coming from new places that might not be so well represented. That's fantastic news. And what an inspiration to hear the story, manufacturing, losing it all, coming back with and now his next generation, his kids can run a machine. Oh, yeah. That's really cool.
Well, and it's interesting too, because myself, as you know, buddy, you're gonna laugh at this, I'm not really a sentimental person, right? Not too much bothers me, you know, other than just being grumpy in general nature. But when we were talking with him and his daughter at IMTS, and, you know, he showed me the videos, like, I actually got pretty choked up, and like it left an impression on me of, you know, what is it that I should be doing to help, you know, people get into this industry, because they now have a very successful business where 5 years ago, he didn't know how to run a CNC machine, right? He learned it all himself. He got up to speed and made a really good business out of it. The last area that I'll mention briefly is, if you're at World, you might want to keep an eye out for a certain Titan of machining. They're going to be around as well. I think they'll be in the shop floor answering some questions, doing videos. So, you know, we're trying to pack a lot of manufacturing to augment what we already do in design, right? Every product that gets designed has to be built. Let's talk about how it gets built. Let's have an open discussion about manufacturing. Titan and Andrew and Megan and the whole team that we're going to have, Todd, Balin, they're all going to talk about those things and talk about the challenge, and you know, maybe together we can all come up with a solution that makes everyone better.
I think only together can we come up with a solution that makes everyone better.
Yeah, we've tried for a couple hundred years of keeping everything close to the vest, and It goes well for a couple people, but for the masses, we don't do very well when we try to, hold everything close to the vest and not communicate. All we do is create more problems and more disconnected things, right? One of the great things about the SolidWorks community over the last 25 plus years is it's a community of people trying to solve a common idea. We know it works. We proved it works. Let's start having that same discussion with manufacturing. So, it's going to be really cool. And you should come if you're thinking about coming. If you're a manufacturing person and you're on the fence, come, show up, give some input. You actually have a chance to drive change in something that benefits everybody. So that's really what we're talking about. And you don't want to miss Dr. Presso. I'm serious. This is a coffee making cobot. It is one of the coolest things. I'm warming up to this robot thing. I read a report the other day, 510,000 robots were sold in last year. So I think we're all going to have to get used to robots, whether it's Terminator or Wall-E. The future will tell. But we'll start with the friendly ones like Wall-E first. So with that, I haven't seen any questions come across. It's been pretty silent because we're explaining what's new. We're done a little bit early. I do have to pay the bills here at the end. But while I'm paying the bills, if anyone has a question or comment, please put it in. We have a few minutes. Let's address it. You want to stump Buddy? Let's stump Buddy. Ask something off the wall. We'll see if we can do it. So I'm going to go through pay the bills. Please ask some questions. So this is paying the bills. Like, subscribe, wherever that thing's going to be these days. Put it somewhere. Like, subscribe, share, send it to your mom. Doesn't matter. We'll take anybody. There are some cool things. There is registration for 3D Experience World. We've talked about that ad nauseum today. Subscribing to the channel. I already mentioned that. Live.solidworks.com. There's the manufacturing live, there's SolidWorks live, there's 3D Experience live stuff. All of the live content we create, live.solidworks.com. Next week, we're doing a What's New episode. So you want to go to live.solidworks.com because that's where you'll find it. The other thing is we've actually launched a new YouTube channel. It's 3D Experience Works as a YouTube channel. I believe Ian will be putting the link probably somewhere down here. And in that link, it will take you to our new channel. Please subscribe to that because we're going to start seeing a lot more content for 3D Experience Works as a general for that area. So let's say you want CAD, you want simulation, you want PDM, you want PLM, you want ERP, MES, robots, cobots, factory flow, CAM, communication. You're one place to go for all of the content that is 3D Experience Works. So please go like and subscribe that. That's where you're going to see a lot of new content showing up. And with that, I think Ian's sharing. Let's see if there's any questions, Buddy. Are we going to stump Buddy today?
Probably. No. Maybe.
Oh, no questions. Buddy, you are going to get away scot-free. I was hoping for someone to ask about some type of protocol for real-time process monitoring and how you connect to a YASNAC controller just to trip you up. But I guess you're going to get off free these days. Yeah, no, you don't get to scoot out of frame. This doesn't work that way. So we're going to end a little bit early today. But Buddy, I want to thank you for joining. Give us a little bit of teaser and understanding. Explain what DELMIAWorks is for us. A little bit of, it's new, but it's not new. How that all fits. Again, my last plea before 3D Experience World, please come by and see us. Please have a talk. If you want to sign up for cobots or CNC 101, we're going to have a registration area. We'll have times you can come by, play with them, do all that stuff. You want to do hands-on sessions with Buddy or the team from DELMIAWorks, they'll be around throughout that week. They would love to chat with you, get feedback. We are building a lot of workflows that are new, easier. Think of it, Apple OS type workflows. we're really good at building those things, but we always like feedback from the people that are going to use it, that very first impression of what you think. So please come by, provide your feedback, learn a little bit, have a coffee, and we'll see you in 33 days.